Rosea has beaten me up a lot of times, and a lot of it's due to the weather, but also some probably silly choices from me.
G'day and welcome to the Gary Word Trail Running Podcast. Talking episode 5 now, which is good fun. We're getting along. We're getting along the trail and we're getting along in our experience of being amateur podcasters. But I'm here with good mates Pat and Mark, 3 trail and ultra runners who have all got sort of different experiences. So the podcast basically is we're looking at doing 12 episodes, which run through the 12 segments of the GPT, Grampians Peaks Trail, out here in Gary Word country near Halls Gap, about 3 hours west of Melbourne. We all love the place, spend lots of time here and do tons of running in the area. Mark, how you going today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Phil. I must admit, a beautiful setting today to record.
So nice.
Record session number 5, sitting out on your balcony, looking across at the end of Stage 3, sort of Barocca and Clematis Falls. So nice to be here, and looking forward to a bit of a nemesis section of track to mine,
Nemesis
Phil,
section.
which is the Mount Rosea. So
Yep, Mount Rosea down to Burra Huts. Pat, g'day. How's your week been?
My week has been good. Yeah, it's an exciting week because the north of the park reopened after the big bushfires just a couple of days ago. So I took the chance to jump out and do the first 50
You did.
yesterday and feeling a little bit sore today.
You did the 50Ks from Mount Zero to Halls Gap.
Yeah, first 50 and cleared a lot of orb spiders off the trail. So anybody that's considering that section, you don't have to worry about them anymore.
It's like an early morning trail run when you want to be second in line, so you don't get all the cobwebs in your face.
There was a lot of cobwebs, but yeah, it was just so nice to get out there and just sort of. It had been a while since I've been up there, but you're reminded of how nice it is.
Yeah.
It's interesting because usually, right, so my experience is you don't get many spider webs. Like, it's that well used that it's not like you really even need to. You don't really think about them because they're not usually there.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system, I've got to say. Like, usually you're just focused on the ground and what technically you have to jump over or jump on and maybe the odd snake. But this time you had to look up as well because all the orb spiders were like at head height as well. It's like they were going for trail runners specifically.
We were talking the other day, you're saying that the vegetation's come back pretty quick.
I mean, up that way there was actually no fire damage at all this year. There's just a small amount of burnt area from the February 2024 fires up near Mount Stapleton, just south of there. And yeah, even that is pretty amazing. Pretty cool to see. It's so green in comparison to the unburnt areas because all that new vegetation is coming out on the sort of the burnt trunks and ferns out of the ground. It's pretty amazing.
No, that's fantastic. So we're going to talk today, as we said, about the 5th section of the GPT. That's going from Rosea Car Park, and then it trucks up a little bit. We'll get into some stats in just a second, and then it's got a nice healthy descent into Burra Huts, into the campground area there. Really, really fun section. And I know Pat and Mark, you guys raced it last year. Pat in your 160k miler attempt, and then and Mark also in your stage race run.
Now I don't know about the word attempt. I feel like that's a little bit rough, Phil. But,
that's a really, really slight.
Yeah, did you do that sector in the last event? No. Phil stopped at the 50k mark. So
I'm claiming the technical definition of ultra running, which is anything over 42 k's is an ultra marathon.
But I guess you can speak from your experience in running that specific sector in the team stage relay from the year before.
Yep, the year before we all 3 of us did the stage race relay as part of the single track GPT 100 event, which was which is a really cracking format. Good way to run it.
It is, and the I don't know. I reckon Rosea's got it's a special affinity there. It's the first time when you're running the track that you really start getting into that subalpine environment too. So you really got to have your wits about you and be prepared, because I've come unstuck a number of times up there as well. So it's a fantastic spot, but you just need to be aware that weather can be quite different to that in Halls Gap.
I actually find the weather's been really kind to me, except when I've been running with Mark. And then, sideways hail, blasting wind. It's got it in for you, I think.
I reckon it's the coldest I've ever been around the summit of Mount Rosea. Just totally underprepared for runs. And it's funny, you'd think you'd only take once and you'd learn a lesson, but it's funny how many times it takes till you do actually learn.
The weather's almost waiting for you to run it, and then it decides to turn shit.
The peak of Rosea is, from memory, just under 1,000 metres.
I thought it was around 1,008, but I might be wrong. Might be just under.
Well, we'll go plus minus 10 metres.
And, I'm calling it 1,000. Just back my subalpine story.
And then that sector as a whole, so going from Rosea Car Park to Burra Huts, is 13 k's long with 440 metres of ascent and more descent with 745 going down.
The ascent is really quite technical too. Like, it's not a lot of it you can kind of move well the first kind of K or so, K and a half out of coming out of Rosea Car Park, but then probably the next 2.5 K to the summit. And if you're moving anything quicker than 13-14 minute Ks, you're doing really well. It's just really, it's not super steep, it's just really technical, and rock bar is beautiful, but just hard to get any flow through there. Yeah,
but you don't need to worry, because you can make up for that on the descent. It's funny. Yes.
Yeah. Well, some of the descent.
Some of the descent, yeah.
It is funny, like when you first leave Rosea Car Park, there is that K and a half where it has got a slight incline. I find it quite good, poles out on that section to just dig them in and try to get up that ascent pretty fast. And then you're on a bit of level ground for a bit before it turns to technical type rocky terrain and interspersed with a little bit of a sandy track. And so I think we all have experienced sometimes sand plus rock, especially if there's a bit of moisture around, does become a bit of a slipping hazard there as well.
Yeah, I was just looking back at the times for the stage race relay where I did this segment, and there's a couple of slow kilometres there, so the 3rd and 4th K getting up to that peak slows down pretty hard.
I think there's a few sections where you have to put your hands down.
Yes.
In order to navigate the trail.
It's the fun of it though, isn't it?
I remember a few years ago, this is probably going about 4 or 5 now, I planned to go and run just to the summit of park at the car park and just to the summit and back with my other mates, Dave King, and it had actually snowed overnight, and we kind of hadn't really, we knew it was going to snow. I was a little bit more prepared than some of my earlier stories. It was such a magic experience. It snowed down to, I think, around 800 metres. So once you get past that first sort of 2K of that, quite sort of machine-built flat track and into the rocks, there was snow on the ground, in the trees. You're seeing kangaroo footprints. No one else had been there. It was quite magic, actually, especially snow. It does snow in the Grampians.
Would you say it's majestic?
I would say the majesty is quite majestic, Phil.
The majesty meter is high.
For context, this is Mark trying to edit out in previous episodes the amount of times he calls the area majestic or talks about majesty.
I told myself I wasn't going to use it anymore, and now you've got me to use it 3 times already this episode, Phil.
Sorry, what word? Sorry, you were saying.
It is. It does, and even that section from you got that. So the first K and a half, fairly well machine built trail, and then up into the rocks. But that section up through the rocks, and you got probably a K and a half till you hit the top of the escarpment, which you just get these views then, and then you're kind of running along the top of the escarpment for probably, another K and a half till you get to the summit of Rosea. But yeah, it is really spectacular and some amazing views. You're passing features like Gate of the East Wind, which actually has a a built bridge over it with just this sort of sheer drop going down. It'd have to be 30 or 40 metres that you kind of cross over the top of, and it is a pretty amazing experience.
And you really feel that wind quite often at the bridge.
Yeah, there's a lot of hats down there. Like, you gotta get ready. Hold on to your hat.
How did you go, Paddy, in the miler? How was your experience there? Because it was probably dark and.
Yeah, so for me, it was dark when I got to the Rosea car park. It had turned dark just before that. And yeah, I was in a bit of struggle town heading up. All sorts of, I had some dehydration that I was still getting over, trying to figure out what my body was doing. I felt like I drank so much fluid. I wondered if I had too much fluid, and I spent that whole sector trying to diagnose what was going on with my body. And by the time I got to Burra Huts, I had a plan of what to do and made a bit of a recovery. But definitely it was just a busy in the mind sector for me, and physically I kind of knew what was going on. Like physically I knew what was coming up. I knew where I had to get to in terms of the elevation. So that was actually quite good. Yeah, I found I just chipped away, and maybe we can also talk about the downhill. I really had to take it easy on the downhill because I was in still quite a bad state.
How many Ks through are we talking now? So from Mount Zero, where the whole race started, you're doing the end-to-end 162 kilometres. We're now talking...
I think about 60 Ks, at the Rosea car park, and then, the 13 Ks from there.
You've done some work by this stage.
Yeah, and through the hot part of the day as well. After the Burra Huts car park is where I got sorted. But yeah, for this specific sector, I wasn't really too focused on navigating it fast or anything. It was just trudging along, trying to diagnose what was going on with me.
You mentioned nutrition, because you've got a pretty unique approach to this, Pat. Is that a whole other episode?
Well, we could briefly talk about it. I was playing around with making my own drink mix last year, and I
can concur it's good.
I think
I got on board.
Yeah, I think I've got it dialed, and I do think, though, not making enough of an allowance for the hot weather combined with the pretty full-on drink mix might have been the source of my pain over this sector.
They're not scaling it up to the right level given the heat.
Yeah, I think the 90 grams of carbs per hour in my drink mix, it was probably just a bit too ambitious. I should have just slowed it down and recognised that I couldn't actually take in that amount of carbs in that time. I'm not a doctor. I've just been playing around, going up and down and back and forth with the different concoctions.
Hi, everybody!
If I was going to do that again in that sort of weather, I'd probably pull my drink mix back to 60 grams. I actually make it quite heavy, so like 60 grams per 500 ml of water, whereas during the miler, I was doing 90 grams per 500 ml of water. Of course, I was drinking other fluids in addition, but I just think it was a bit too heavy, and might have been causing the organ pain that I was experiencing. So I'll give the drink mix review 2 stars out of 5.
You had an organ symphony.
Well, in saying that, it worked quite well. I picked it up, and I'd probably been trying it for the 2 months prior in training, and I used it, and it actually worked really well for me. But that's obviously just doing the stage event, and so only out for, I think it was just under 7 hours instead of that continuous utilising that as your nutrition.
I love not having to think too much about other nutrition. Like if you've got your drink mix as a base, you're getting in that certain amount of carbs per hour. That helps me a lot because then you can focus on everything else.
So running the trail at night, so there are technical aspects and things, but I've run that section of trail several times at night too. But there's one time I remember, and I think Phil knows where I'm going with this, and it was prior to the first event in our first GPT 100 miler event, Phil, and I think this might have come up in a previous episode, but you were having a bit of a go. Do you want to describe it, the fastest known time? And do you want me to tell the rest of the story, and then you can jump in? So My version of this is I feel this is a few weeks out from the very first event. Because this is my chance. If I don't get in and do the fast known time now, once the event's on, you won't get it. So
when the good runners start.
So this is about three weeks, maybe a month before the event. And I'm going out to do it, and called it probably a week before he decided to do it. And anyway, it was a Sunday afternoon, and he sets off. I'm like, I'll give you a hand. I'll pace you from Halls Gap to Burra Huts. He's like, yeah, sweet. I'll be there about 7, and we'll. So I think you'd left yourself the 5 hours from Mount Zero to Halls Gap. He called about 7:30, and I'm like, that'll work well because you'll get there, and I'll be in bed by midnight. Anyway, I think by the time you got to Halls Gap, and I think you had a beer even at the PSR on your way, and you have fastest known time. I think we set off at a bit after 10:30. It might have been about quarter to 11.
It was schooner or stout, I think.
I think it was from memory. It was quite dark and probably quite heavy. Hope it wasn't the Imperial Stout. But anyway, we won't go there. Anyway, we set off at 10:30. And we're going overnight, and you're like, oh no, this is a really good pace. And I'm thinking, I don't think we've actually broken into a run yet, Phil. Anyway, we got back, and I think I got to bed at about somewhere around 5 a.m. and I was working the next day, and I'm like, that didn't quite go to plan. No. But anyway, it was a good adventure nonetheless.
It was a good adventure, and true to form, I think we had pretty bad weather over the top, didn't we? I remember.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that whole night was horrible weather, and looking into, doing overnight ultras and that sort of stuff, everyone sort of says you get this burst of energy when the sun comes up, and I was looking forward to that. You get tired through the night, and you just want to see that sunrise, just to give yourself a little bit of a perk up. But yeah, I remember the world got lighter, but I couldn't see like a couple of meters in front of me. It was just mizzle. There was mizzle everywhere.
Mizzle. And it wasn't mystical.
No, it wasn't magical, mystical, or anything. It was it was painful. But yeah, I did end up pulling out of that attempt to get an FKT.
How did that, in contrast, when you did that sector in 2023 during the team stage event in the GPT Miler? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, vastly different approaches. So yeah, as you said, Mark, it was like that night was, and this is sort of my journey to sort of ultra running and trying to figure out my way into getting into a miler eventually. Which I haven't done. But I did race the section we're talking about, this fifth section. I raced that as part of our team relay. So I got the chance to just sort of really, go hard at this 13k section, and had an absolute ball because, as we said, it's tough at the start. You get that 400 meters of 440 meters of elevation gain, and then big winding trails that you can really sort of let loose on if you're not in preservation mode. If you're not thinking about running 160 kilometers, you can let loose.
And who were you racing against
on that day?
I'm doing air quotes as I'm saying against from the Esk Valley Orienteering Club.
Was that Joe doing that segment, or was that Brody, or might have been Oscar? I don't know. It was one of them.
I think
it was probably one of them.
The whole team. That was the
I think Brody did the next sector.
I reckon it was Oscar, because they were going 1, 2, 3 consecutive each day.
So it would have been Oscar, and I think they were a fair bit ahead of us already at this stage, weren't they? Or did I get him?
What about that sector specifically?
Oh, let me have a look.
Okay.
I can check out the Strava times, but I was looking at it just now, and clocking an 18.5 minute 5k on the way down on trails is, I don't know, that was
18.5 minute 5k.
18:44. Yeah. So yeah, I was giving it a crack. That's for sure.
Definitely got a fair bit on my 5k PB. What about you, Pat?
I think my quads would have just imploded if I tried to do something like that.
It was definitely gravity assisted, but yeah, I wasn't into preserving my quads that day. I was heading downhill. On the downhill segment, Julian Spencer's still got that from 2016. He's got the crown.
So I reckon it probably stems from the fact that there are a number of events on that occur on this section.
That's in the segment, yeah.
So, you've got Wonderland Run, which I think commenced 2015, I reckon. And so you've a number of years, and that's run the 36k, which was the original Peaks Trail before they built the whole 160k. They did an initial 36k loop, of which this section into Burra Huts formed part of that. So it's had a lot of racing over this section.
Yeah, and just looking at it now, Julian Spencer's crown on that segment is part of the Wonderland run in 2016.
I think
that checks out.
I'd have to double check this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's still the course. I think he did in about 3 hours, which is pretty incredible for that 36, maybe just over.
2:59.22.
There you go.
That's wild.
Yeah. That, like, with how much for the 36?
Elevation gain is 1,241 metres, or 1.2 kilometres of elevation gain. Average pace of 4:51 per kilometre.
That is madness with that elevation.
Yeah,
with that elevation and
trails.
technical trail, that's some wild running.
And then what about you, Mark? What was your experience like of this sector doing the solo stage 2024?
So it wasn't too bad. I'd gone a little bit quick on, so it's the middle stage of day 2. I'd probably pushed a little bit hard up to the pinnacle on the first section. I came down. I think, Phil, you're at the aid station, and you helped me out with a bit of
Vaseline,
some Vas to help some chafing challenges that were going on.
I think it was the squirrel's nut butter.
Good old squirrel's nut butter. Just leave a little section in here so we can give them a little segue if they're interested in sponsorship.
Or dishing us some free nut butter.
Free nut butter, always handy. And then set off. So I was feeling a little bit like I'd pushed a bit hard, and then I sort of caught up to 2 people in front of me, and then we kind of went together, kind of hiked up to the summit, that first 4k, then started the descent. So the way to the summit's technical. You don't actually go to the summit in the event. It's definitely worth going to the summit if you get there. It's only 100 metres off, but during events you don't go out to the summit. You kind of bypass it and go down, but you kind of miss quite a spectacular view. So definitely worth, if you're on a day trip, going to the summit. But I went, and you've got about another K of maybe 1,200 metres of very technical sort of traverse / descent down a steep staircase before you get to probably the last 8k, which obviously 18:45 5k is pretty quick. So the last 8k are sort of manufactured, machine built, more like mountain bike trail, and very runnable. And so I felt a bit, by the time I'd got down the bottom of the technical descent, I was feeling pretty good. And but I had learnt from previous runs that you got to not open up in there, because it's really tempting. It's kind of that 10%, pretty well built open grade. You can open up quite easily, let gravity do its thing. But I know I'd been on a training run probably 6 weeks before, and I'd pushed, and I was running Hall's Gap to Burra Huts, and by the time I'd got down, you got about a 2k section of relatively flat, undulating, by the time you finish the descent to get to Burra Huts. By the time I got to that, my ductors both just locked up, and I was like, because I pushed, and it just wasn't worth it. So it was a good learning experience, because I think if I hadn't done that training run, I reckon I probably would have pushed too hard, and then been in a world of pain for that last sector.
And then at the end of the sector, I think it's important to note, in the GPT Miler event, you get very close to the Burra Huts campground. You go over a little footbridge over a creek at the very end, and then it's important to know you have to go into the camp itself, into the aid station, before you come back out and then rejoin the path. And because that can be quite confusing in there for some people, and also for crew, they have to head over to that side of the campsite. I mean, obviously during the event you can see where the aid station is, but just important to note, it's just that tiny little out and back before you proceed on to the next section.
I think that's right, because you cross the creek, the trail actually heads to the left, it's almost straight, the Peaks Trail. And it's really tempting to do that, because the vegetation cover, even though the aid station and campground is only 100 metres away, you can't actually see it from that intersection. So to know that you cross the bridge and then turn right is really important. The key with gear is just being prepared, that it's going to be cold and wet up there, and just making sure that you have the gear you need for it to be 10 degrees cooler than it is in Halls Gap, and also that it could be really windy and snowing. So, yeah.
Certainly, unless it's summertime, it always makes me think, because you get out on top of that escarpment and that's when the wind can hit you from the south, along with rain and everything else. For me, it's like a couple of buffs, like 2 buffs are always handy. Gloves as well, and having that jacket not too far away if you do get stuck in a bit of a rainstorm.
I'd definitely have a jacket and a thermal anytime outside of those sort of summer months. Just worth taking with you. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Like in the events, they tell you all these mandatory requirements, all the mandatory gear you have to take with you, but it's sort of a bit of there's method to the madness. I think taking thermals and a shell jacket that can break the wind and keep you dry.
Also, from my experience, if you're running with Mark, you may as well take a puffer jacket as well.
Yeah, take a puffer jacket and
maybe snowboard pants,
some hot tea.
Rosé has beaten me up a lot of times, and a lot of it's due to the weather, but also some probably silly choices from me. But it has also given me some of the most amazing trail experiences here in Garryword as well. 2 in particular, and both happened on longer individual runs. The first one I was sort of doing it was about a 45k run that kind of links in a lot of the peaks around Halls Gap. You can link a lot of those peaks up, and I was heading up Rosé, and it's about the 25k mark, and I was heading up there, and I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself. I sort of head down, trudging along, and I was probably only a couple hundred metres from the summit. Anyway, the sun was out. It was a beautiful day, I think it's spring day. And all of a sudden, I just looked down, and my shadow on the rocks was just dwarfed by this wedge-tail eagle.
Wow.
And I just look up, and there's this wedgie just sitting a couple of metres above me, and it's just like there, and then it takes off, and it was a pretty special moment. And then after that, it kind of, I wouldn't say I finished very quickly that run, but it did. The run, I didn't feel quite so sorry for myself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a pretty special moment. And then the second one happened about 12 months ago, where I was going out on a solo run. It was the first time I'd attempted to run 50Ks by myself, and I kind of knew that I needed to get better prepped with my nutrition and bits and pieces, and I'm sort of pretty prone to cramping, and I'd been looking into salt tablets and things, and I'd ordered some online and they hadn't turned up yet. Anyway, I was doing this run, and I kind of running from Pomona, my house, and went up and over, and I was heading up Rosé, and it was about 20k in at this stage, and I remember just thinking to myself, I got most of the vert done by then, but I'm like, I've got 30k's to go, and I'm like, I would love some salt. I could just feel like the legs weren't locking up, but I'm like, I'm going to be in a world of pain here. And about a K up the trail, probably about 1,500 metres from the summit, in the middle of the trail is a packet of salt tablets. I'm like, oh, well, thank you, Rosé. You can beat me up and you can give back. And I tell you what, it was the first time I used salt tablets, and I didn't cramp for the rest of the run. So I'm on them now. I'm sold.
Is this a bit of a shout out to our listeners? If you lost a pack of salt tablets,
hit Mark up. I just love that you've got this. We've got this segment, segment 5 of the GPT, and Mark, you've just got this absolute love-hate relationship, or maybe it's just like some sort of relationship with the mountain itself. Is it? Do you reckon that stage is just trolling you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about the mountain. I think we've talked about it before. This place, it's a bit of a spiritual connection and stuff like that. And it just, I don't know. For me, it probably is a bit. I think Rosé's just got a bit of an elevated sense of I've got to make sure I give it a bit of respect. So
yeah, really good. So thanks guys for joining us today on episode 5 of the Garryword Trail Running podcast. I'm Phil. I'm here with Mark and Pat, and we're sitting out on the deck. We've got kangaroos out in the field. If there was water flowing, we would be looking at Clematis Falls. Is it Clematis or Clematis? Is it tomato?
I think it's a South Australian Clematis. Victorian Clematis. No, maybe that's... No.
Don't know. Anyway.
I'm going to edit that out.
You can often see water flowing from where we're sitting, but there are kangaroos out in the field. We've got a nice sunny day looking at the Mount Difficult Range here in Garryword near Halls Gap. But yeah, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you in episode 6, where we run out of Burra Huts and further south.
Yeah, the monster.
It's fun.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.